What is up, Soul Fam? It's Sandal from Substance Overstyle and welcome to a new video. Okay, so today I'm going to do something that we haven't done here before, but I thought it would be really appropriate for what I want to talk about today. And we're going to do some reaction videos. I'm going to react to a couple of social media posts talking about the situation in Maui. Just because, you know, it's one thing for me to kind of give my opinion based on what I've observed online from people who are actually on the ground and what they're posting, but it's quite another when I actually show you those particular posts and let you make your own mind up. Okay, so the first one that I want to show you is this girl, and she's basically showing her house in Lahaina, and it's just strange. Okay, let's just watch it.
But there's little to find.
This is my house. This is the remains of my house. But yeah, the fire knocked out the whole neighborhood.
Sydney Carney used to live here. The reality of the devastation she fled is now just starting to become clear.
Seeing it is a lot more real than seeing all the pictures. I walked through my room and there's just nothing. Like, everything is gone. It's really just Lahaina town is Lahaina town. Like, that's who we are. We are the old town of Maui. And now we are not even a town. The
first thing that strikes me about that video, I found it extremely strange that she's laughing and giggling. So, you know, I just want to see if, you know, anybody else is commenting on it. But yeah, people are commenting. They're like, is she high? Why is she smiling? Some people are, you know, some people are hypothesizing that it's an actress, but honestly, if that's a crisis actor, she's a really, really bad crisis actor, because nobody would act like that. I think it's more likely that, you know, she's just in shock and people react to trauma in different ways. And, you know, some people, you know, react to really, really fucked up stuff with laughter. I have seen that before. You know, I've seen that with my clients even. Sometimes when they're telling me stuff that's like really messed up, they'll kind of make jokes about it to kind of break the tension almost. So, you know, that in itself, I don't think she's a crisis actor, because that would be the worst decision to cast her as a crisis actor, because she's not really, it's too complex for her to go, oh, my character is going to be somebody who finds this really funny. It's just not, you know, I don't know. Like, I think it's too weird. I think probably she's just reacting in a strange way because she's in shock. But anyway, does anybody else find it really, really weird how all the trees are just kind of standing around? Like, her house is destroyed. Was her house destroyed by fire? Because if it was, then why are there trees right next to the house that are covered in leaves? It's weird to me. It seems like it wasn't fire. It seems like maybe it was something else. Obviously everyone on my feed, a lot of people that I've been speaking to have been you know, saying that it's like DEWs, direct energy, and I'm not going to say the third word because I do want to keep my channel. By the way, if you hear buzzing, and you probably heard it in the last video as well, I have like a wasp nest or something somewhere. I think it's not actually in my room. I think there's like a crack from the outside and they're just getting in. So yeah, it's just absolutely devastating scenes here. It's so awful. Okay, so let's look at the next one.
This is what Governor Josh Green had to say, along with the FEMA director, about preserving Lahaina moving forward.
I'm already thinking about ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing, to put it back into families, or to make it open spaces in perpetuity as a memorial to people who were lost.
This is what Josh...
Right, so he's basically said that he's already thinking about ways that the state can acquire that land. So, you know, we're just going to build up a picture with the other videos that I'm going to show you.
So today we're going to give a little update on the Hawaiian fires. Now I want you to look at this footage, and this surely doesn't look like a fire to me. It looks like something almost exploded or something went off. Now what's interesting is certain things are still standing while other things are not. Now the governor did say this is climate change doing this. Interesting. What they don't talk about is in January how they had in Maui a smart city conference to turn Maui into an entire smart island, changing everything to electric, renewables, solar panels, and pushing everybody into electric vehicles. 15-minute smart cities. So now what's also interesting is next month in September, Hawaii is hosting the Digital Government Summit, utilizing AI to govern the island.
So yes, I was hearing reports that basically the World Economic Forum has been trying to turn Maui into one of these like smart cities that they have planned for the Great Reset, these kind of 15-minute cities, you know, to protect against climate change and stuff like that. So let's see what the next one says. Look at this one, okay? This is crazy to me. Like, why are those houses completely destroyed and then the one next to it is completely intact? That's a little bit weird. Maybe somebody can let me know in the comments. You know, maybe I don't understand how fires work, but it's a bit weird to me how certain houses have been destroyed and others haven't. Yeah, that's weird to me. That's super weird to me. Is there sound on this? No. Oh, crazy. Look at that. Okay. Yeah, so this is viewed from Google Maps, I think. I would assume so anyway. Seems to be some kind of Google Maps or some kind of satellite imagery. Wow. So the houses have been destroyed, but the trees haven't. And they're trying to convince us that these are wildfires. Look at this forest. It's wildfires that have destroyed these houses. Like, y'all tell me if that seems plausible to you. Because that seems kind of unlikely to me. Wow. Just wow.
It caused fires in not only on Maui, but it caused fires in the most precious parts of real estate in Maui. Lahaina Front Street is worth billions. The Hawaiians that have been holding out and the Kanaka have been holding out for years, not wanting to sell their property in Lahaina due to these big million-dollar companies. It is not a coincidence, I don't believe, how in the most precious parts of Maui, Kula, Lahaina, and Kihei, that the locals that are standing strong and do not want to give up Oprah Winfrey's fucking view up in Kula that the Hawaiians are holding out on, that the fire was going to, the Hawaiians and the Kanaka that was holding right there on Front Street.
Yeah, okay, so that's straight from the horse's mouth. That's, you know, one of the indigenous people of Hawaii speaking there. So, yeah, let's look at the last one. The last one is basically from a company that produces direct energy W, something that begins with W, something like a gun or a tank or something, or a knife. You can figure it out.
So tip.
Lockheed Martin produces systems that do everything from detect the threats, to identify the threats, determine whether it's a threat to the aircraft, and then employs the appropriate weapon, in this case, a laser weapon system.
What we're hearing from our customers is that they need a layered, multi-domain defensive approach that can be integrated across platforms to neutralize these threats across all those domains. Imagine an aircraft equipped with a laser system with the capability to be able to neutralize a threat at the speed of a light.
So basically people are hypothesizing that it was possibly that kind of technology that has caused this. Okay, not that we have any conclusive proof at the moment. People have sent me photos of what looks like a beam coming from the sky and then a fire breaking out below. I believe that personally those are photoshopped. If somebody wants to send me a video, then maybe. But the thing is, nowadays with like AI and everything and deepfake, it's so hard to know if anything is real that you see. Well, I mean, I do think that what I've just shown you there, I don't think that that was produced with AI, but, you know, things can be photoshopped and stuff like that. So, you know, I mean, what would somebody's motivation for that? I think sometimes people just want maybe to just spread in misinformation, so that they can, you know, have an excuse to censor people, to shadow ban people, to fact check people. Maybe it's also, you know, just for the purpose of discrediting a certain narrative, but it could also just be people just trying to produce a quick result and wake people up quickly and cheating, and I just don't think that that's a good idea. I think that you should always, there's a tendency when you're a naturally skeptical person, aka conspiracy theorist, there's a tendency to have a massive confirmation bias towards a certain narrative, and I think that you need to be skeptical, not just of the mainstream narrative, but also be skeptical of the alternative narrative, because the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. But I think, like my mentor Emily said in her latest video that she did where she was talking specifically about this, she was just like, do not underestimate evil, okay? Because we are dealing with major psychopathy. If you've never dealt with a psychopath or a sociopath before, or never met one, then, you know, it's easy to dismiss and go, oh, you know, governments aren't really doing that, corporations aren't really doing that. But y'all need to stop being so naive and get with the program and actually do some research into how many psychopaths actually, what percentage of the population are actually psychopaths or sociopaths, because many of them are very high functioning, and our capitalist society and our narcissistic culture actually encourages those traits. So a lot of them we will see in big business, you know, we will see a lot of them working for corporations and governments and things like that. There's a lot of people that are very psychopathic in these institutions, and will do whatever it takes to get what they need. And if you think that, you know, everybody who works for different institutions and everybody out there is, you know, above board and moral and ethical person, you know, you're very naive. Okay, so why? Okay, so we already gave one motivation, okay, with where they're wanting to turn this into a smart city. But I think that it might be deeper than that, because I think that it might also be connected to the fact that the 12th planetary Stargate is located in Maui. So planetary Stargates are basically like, they're like multi-dimensional portals. So if you really want to understand what Stargates are and how they work, check out Lisa Renee's page on the Ascension Glossary. You just search for planetary gates. So she's written here, I'm just going to quote her because she's the OG on this subject. The planetary Stargate system are the Earth's connection points or portals into the galactic and universal Stargate systems. They were once sealed off and closed, but now these Stargates are progressively opening during the ascension cycle. So basically, the Stargates basically form like a tree of life structure, a tree of life template within the planetary body. Okay, so now that our planet is, we're all going through an ascension process. The Earth is also going through an ascension process. So the Stargates are actually going to be opening up during this time. So it could be that that particular Stargate is opening, which I believe that it is. Because if you've been watching my videos, go back to a few videos where I think there was one that I did entitled Atlantean Lemurian Timeline Split Healing, in which during a session with a client, we actually saw, basically there was like a massive, what's the word? It was like a timeline repair. A timeline repair where basically we were able to see that basically the grids that were connected to ancient Lemuria when our planet was occupying 7th density, so it was a higher band, it was occupying and existing within a higher band of frequency than what we are currently residing within. We're probably more like 3rd, 4th density and shifting into a 5th density kind of vibrational frequency. Lemuria was on the planet in 7th density. So after the holocausting of Lemuria, where the Draco reptilians basically decimated that civilization, that caused a lot of trauma in the planetary body and in the timelines and in the grids. So what I have seen, and I have also had this validated by other grid workers and field workers. This is the thing, when you're doing like planetary grid work or field work, you always have to validate, you know, whatever you're seeing with what other people are seeing, because I guess it's similar to, like, in the scientific community you would have a thing called peer review. It's essentially like a peer review. It's just to validate your own vision and your own intuitions and your own downloads and your own codes, because obviously we can have perceptual filters that can color those or can distort them. So it is important to validate that with against other, you know, people who are trained in the same kind of, you know, grid work and field work. So what I saw was that there was a big timeline correction coming out of the Lemurian, that holocausting. So it was very connected to the Hawaiian grids, and it was basically like the frequency of, it was like an angelic frequency of when the divine masculine and divine feminine was in sacred unification and was balanced. Now, I don't know if this was exactly during the time of the holocausting. My intuitive hunch is that probably it was before that. I feel like maybe Lemuria might have come to a place where it became imbalanced towards the feminine polarity, and that made it vulnerable to attack. Because I do feel like when civilizations become a little bit too feminized, that can lead to kind of naivety and attack. And I want to talk about this in my next video, actually, where I talk about how, you know, when you as a woman become imbalanced in your masculine and feminine energies, that can leave you vulnerable to attack from men that are embodying like a toxic masculine or imbalanced masculine, or a reptilian masculine, what we refer to in our industry as a reptilian masculine frequency, because it's kind of a very service to self frequency, a very narcissistic frequency. And, you know, I believe it's basically, we can trace it back to the breeding programs and hybridization of the original angelic human, that was then hybridized with DNA from the Draco reptilians. So many men on the planet have basically embodied this like predator consciousness, and have used that to target the Sophianic beings, the feminine essence beings, who are still occupying that kind of like more like imbalanced feminine, or like a wounded feminine consciousness. Like it's a feminine consciousness that's not fully integrated with the, you know, the divine masculine principle, like the holy rod. You know, that architecture of like boundaries, self-defense, like self-esteem, like courage, like all of those wonderful divine masculine principles that you have to have as a woman. If you don't have those, then that can leave you to being vulnerable, being siphoned. And I do believe that is what happened. I believe that was what left Lemuria vulnerable to being holocausted, and I think it's something that also many indigenous cultures on this planet have also had to deal with. Some of that programming that has left them vulnerable to being colonized and being genocided. Again, not to victim blame at all. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying that there needs to be like a rebalancing of all groups of people within, and also all individual people. As we heal ourselves individually and balance our energies, masculine and feminine, then we can teach our children to be more balanced, our communities will be more balanced, our society will be more balanced, okay? We won't be so like, you know, just welcoming to like different groups of people when we don't know like what their intentions are, or like what they want and stuff like that. You know, that's a lot of how these situations ended up happening. If you look at kind of, you know, just what happened to different indigenous groups, particularly in the Americas, the Pacific Islands and stuff like that, how they were taken over. So yeah, we're seeing that bloodline trauma is basically being brought to the surface and then healed amongst those people, because, you know, like the guy said in the video, the Hawaiian guy, he was just like, the people were not budging. Like the locals were just like, no, we're not going to sell. This is our land, and we don't want your money. Like, we're not, like, this is our, you know, we're not moving, basically. And so, you know, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, I guess you could argue that if they did take the money and if they did sell, then maybe the attack wouldn't have happened. So you could argue that, oh, maybe if they had just acquiesced and been, you know, more, what's the word, more yielding, then maybe they could have avoided that attack. I don't necessarily agree, because I think that what they would have given up if they had yielded would have been far greater, because that island would have been completely taken over. I think that now they are going to attempt to take it over, but it's up to us and how we respond as a human collective, and show up in support of the Hawaiian people right now, that's going to ensure whether they're successful or not. And I think it's definitely within our interests that we put some energy into making sure that they don't implement this in Maui, because if they do, then our towns, our cities, our villages are next. Okay, it's only a matter of time. Like, it's really, really time that we get organized, and figure out how we're gonna like stop this, you know, horrendous cancer that we have on the planet, that is these kind of, like, you know, New World Order, World Economic Forum, like, fucking satanic evil people. And how you do that is going to depend on you and your particular templating and your soul's blueprint. So different people are, you know, working on different things. Like for me and a lot of the people around me, we're working on activating our multidimensional gifts, our clairvoyance, our clairaudience, our spiritual abilities, like activating our multi-strand DNA. Like, if you don't already know, many of us were born with 2-strand DNA, but we actually, our natural angelic human light bodies have 12 strands of DNA. Just 10 of them are inactive. Scientists refer to this as junk DNA, but it's not junk, it's just inactive. So many of us have been activating more and more strands. Like, they say that a lot of the children being born nowadays are being born with 3 strands, sometimes even more active. So, you know, many of us are like at 6 or 7, 8 even strands of DNA active. So, you know, what happens when you activate those strands of DNA is it opens up your multidimensional gifts. It opens up your light body to be able to travel interdimensionally and to be able to do planetary grid work, you know, learning how to, you know, work with your energy, work with the elements, you know, to manifest things. You know, we can manifest a lot of different things. Like, we can manifest like weather. Obviously they're doing like geoengineering and things like that. We know that they have the technology to perform geoengineering. This is not like a conspiracy theory. This is something that, you know, has been acknowledged by mainstream sources, but it's not openly talked about when they have discussions about climate change. So anybody who's talking about climate change and isn't talking about weather manipulation or geoengineering is not really having an honest conversation. So, you know, if they are so concerned about climate change, like, why don't you just use your weather modification technology to kind of just shift it, you know? So many people are focusing on that. Maybe that's not what you want to focus on. I understand everybody's different. Some people don't even believe that those things are possible, and it's not for me to convince anybody else what's possible or what isn't. It's just for me to work on my own gifts. And if you believe in it and you want to activate yours, consider joining my course, Reclaim Your Crown. That's what it's designed to do, and there's going to be more trainings coming as well. We're going to go deeper and deeper. So it heals your trauma, and then it starts activating gifts. Other people are working on like getting organized, like, you know, getting like common law courts, educating themselves about common law, which is founded on natural and universal laws. But creating their own common law courts, putting together their own police force. Okay, so I'll tell you who to follow. In the UK, there is an account called a Kingdom United 23. Go follow that account. This guy is organizing, getting together with, getting crowdfunding and building common law courts that are basically going to hold a lot of these people accountable through the legal system, and also police force. So they're training people to be peace officers who are basically trained in common law and who are trained to go down to protest sites and basically put the corporate security guards for the crown, which our metropolitan police are. They're supposed to serve the people, but they actually swear allegiance to the crown, the British crown. So they're basically working on getting, our own, people's police force. So that's somebody that you should follow. I think that movement's definitely going to grow. There's Guardians 300 as well that does call. They also get people, particularly like a lot of like retired police officers, will basically send the boys around. So they'll serve notice to different people. I think that they're doing really, really an amazing thing. So if you're in the UK, definitely get organised with them. And then, just looking at something like, I really like what Andrew Tate is doing with his war room. Not that I think that he's a perfect person or a moral, like a bastion of morality, or by any means. I've spoken about him before. I think that he is a highly problematic person. But I will commend him for getting extremely organised and getting his shit together, and becoming a very powerful and influential person. And I do think that if more awake people concentrated on acquiring influence, power, wealth, and the ability to make things happen, instead of giving in to poverty programming and slave think, which so many people in the truth community are suffering from. And I've heard so many excuses from some of the men in the community, especially when I've talked about, masculine, feminine dynamics, and how I believe that men should be, stepping up into leadership and should be, getting their money right, getting their finances right, their ability to provide for women and children so that we can actually have stable, healthy families, and the next generation is not going to be completely broken and traumatized. A lot of them, I've heard a lot of them make excuses, and they're just like, well, the financial system is corrupt, so that's my excuse for not being able to provide for a woman. And, go and all those rich guys are dickheads, and so you can go be with them. And it's just like, first, you don't have to be wealthy to provide for a woman. It's helpful if you choose a woman who's not extremely materialistic and wants loads of handbags and designer shoes and everything, the best of everything, but maybe just wants to be able to focus on raising healthy children and taking care of her family's health and wellness, or wants to maybe focus on her mission work. Or maybe both of you have a mission together that you work on together. It's not for me to say exactly how other people should do their financial sharing, especially because everybody's in slightly different situations. Everybody has, some people have children, some people don't have children. Some people are from, a Western country and married to somebody from a developing country. So, the woman might have a better capability to earn more things. So, I'm not saying that this particular template of the man being the sole provider will necessarily work for everyone, but I do think that it's something that people should reflect on, and because there was a reason why that design worked for so long, because it is conducive to raising children, because women are the natural ones who give birth and who nurture young infants, and need the time and the space to be able to do that without being stressed about also doing a 9-to-5 job and paying half the bills, while the man just does his 9-to-5 job and pays half the bills but doesn't breastfeed and shit like that. It's just, I don't know, it just seems pretty obvious to me. But anyway, I'm digressing. So I want to round off this video by saying a prayer for Maui. And we're going to actually say a Hawaiian prayer. So I would like you to join me in this. You might have heard of it. It's called Ho'oponopono. And it basically works on the idea that we are all collectively co-creating this reality based on our assumptions and our beliefs. And so if we see something unfavorable in our reality, we can dissolve the part of ourself, as in the big self, the part of you that is eternal, the part of yourself that contributed to manifesting that reality, okay? It's very deep, but it's very simple. You don't even really need to understand it to use it and to actually see it work in your life. So the prayer is, and we're going to say this 5 times. I'm just going to tell you the words so you can say it along with me. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And I'm going to add one more that I learned from my friend Neil Shah at the Stress Management Society. We are one at the end, because I feel like that really drives home the concept of what we're doing here. Okay, so we're going to say it 5 times. So just breathe in. And just hold in your mind the unfavorable situation. So for me, I am holding in my mind the situation in Maui at the moment. So I ask that you all do the same. But if there's anything else that you also want to hold in your mind, and you can focus on both things at the same time, or you can do it separately, you can also think of that. We can also send energy to any victims of any natural disasters or unnatural disasters anywhere in the world, any victims of war. But for me, I'm just going to focus on the situation in Maui right now. Okay. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. We are one. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. We are one. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. We are one. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. We are one. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. We are one. So I highly recommend that you guys use that prayer anytime you see something that shows up in the world that you don't like. I found it to be extremely powerful. I've even used it in my real life as well, and I've turned whole situations around, or complete 180 using that prayer. So it basically dissolves the part of you that believed that thing to be possible and so co-created it. So yeah, it's very deep. Goes into, those of you who studied quantum physics will probably understand how that might work. Please follow Enlightened Prophets on Instagram, where basically the post that the videos that I responded. I should have credited them earlier, but yeah, the posts that we reacted to were posted by Enlightened Prophets. I love their account. They post some amazing stuff all the time. And if you want to book a session with me, DM me on Instagram. I'm actually fully booked. I'm fully booked until the end of the month now. And then I'm going to be traveling back to Mexico, so probably like first or maybe second week of Mexico I'm available for sessions again, but I can still get you booked in. So yeah, I love you and leave you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. One love.